Hello everybody, here I am in Brussels in front of the Austrian Permanent Representation to the European Union, and I call for Austria to join NATO. It's utterly unacceptable to have this continuous neutrality which leads to immoral positions, anti-European solidarity, and it's utterly irresponsible. If Sweden and Finland join NATO, I can really not find any reason why Austria should not. And the result of our neutrality is Austria not participating in the EU training mission. That's very bad, together with this pro-Russian Orban-led Hungary and also Croatia, but everybody else participates. Yeah? Very interesting. And also Austria then making a meeting where they don't want to sell arms to Ukraine when we need it immediately for the liberation of Ukraine. So that is this immorality of the Austrian neutrality which I protest against the whole year already. And here in Brussels I can see really no reason why we should not be in NATO, because we are part of the European solidarity, of the European sanctions, of the European common foreign security and policy, and why not in NATO? And the EU itself should join NATO. I have made the case already, and more or less we have done that with the basic treaty from the 10th of January. So why to stay neutral? It's just, that the pro-Russian faction led by Schüssel, Schallenberg and Nehammer, they have somehow won. And the anti-Americanism of the Greens and of the Socialists is also very strong in Austria. And that's the real serious problem. And it leads to very bad policy. So I call for Austria to join NATO, and for America to invite us, and for the Germans to challenge us, and for the Italians to ask why we are not joining, and for everybody else not to accept it. The Ukrainians first of all, yeah. You see, of course, the Austrians give a little bit of money in solidarity, and now the Austrian state president is in Ukraine, and you can accept it, and you can say we are like a sick child. Yeah, you don't know it better. But we are simply a normal European Union country. We joined for that. And in the 90s it was very clear. I was myself involved. It was very clear. Next step, NATO. I was at the summits of the Austrian People's Party when we promised NATO membership. How come we not deliver? It's just because Mr. Schüssel sold us to the Russians. It's not Niinistö, he stayed online. And also Carl Bildt and the Moderaterna in Sweden. But our people made the easy picking with the OMV-led gas business with Russia. They are now filthy rich and block the NATO debate. And why that? Because of money. Because it's easy. Because they are afraid of Kickl. Yeah, of course, because they're so corrupt that the Kickl has easy picking with them. We need to back to the fundamentals, and this is of course NATO-backed security. Everybody can see it in the year 2022. Ukraine would be lost without NATO and without America and UK. So back to the basics. This is the backbone of the European security and the protection from Europe against the Soviets and the Russians ever since the start of the European unification process in the year 48-49. And this is what we need. And there is no other reason but historic, kind of anachronistic, kind of sentimental identity nostalgia, which we don't need anymore. Defense alliances are not about the past. It's not a museum. It's about the present security and the future security. And this is obviously handled in NATO. And the NEOs are also wrong, because there is no EU army or EU kind of separate force from NATO. The EU must join NATO, and inside we organize our security much better. And that's the effective way to do it, inside the existing NATO and transatlantic security structures. Because we don't have the ships and the airplanes and the cyber security and the will to fight, so much as the Americans. So joining NATO is the logical thing for Austria. And all this deep toxic thinking is very, very bad. This anti-Americanism and kind of separatism from America and the West, and this kind of, the whole Austrian identity is based on these wrong assumptions. And that's why we are so much against the free trade, again with America, with Mercosur, all this kind of conspiracy and the deep-rooted anti-Semitism, protectionism and populism and xenophobia of Austria. I could really, it's so annoying. And we have to confront that. We have to fight these toxic narratives in our psyche and be a normal European country. We are total normal Europeans. There is no difference between Austrians, Slovaks, Hungarians, Germans, Italians. We are a mix of all of them in some ways. And of course we are a unique country, like every country is unique, like every person is unique. But the European security is based on NATO, and it always was. Raab and Figel, they have only agreed on the state treaty and neutrality because of implicit American security guarantees, because they knew they were helpless against the Soviet Union if it comes back with vengeance. And this was the big situation. And the Americans left security arms depots everywhere in order to return in case it's needed. We were lucky. But now we didn't join in the 90s. It was a big mistake. But the Social Democrats and Heinz Fischer, the worst asset, the friend of the Cuban dictators and the ones who wanted to sell us to the Soviets. Yeah? I mean, these people are still today around and block us to join NATO because of the deep-seated hatred of America and their socialist fundamental belief in a holy motherland Russia. It's unbelievable. And then Austria is such a controlled economy. You know, since the 23rd of May, when there was a debate in the television, in Austrian state television, there was not a single debate anymore about NATO membership. So that's why I'm standing here on the streets, because the Austrian state television doesn't want to debate that. And so that's the reality of Austria. And that's the situation. So I can just call Austria join NATO. This is the only reasonable policy. And I call all friends of NATO and Europe, pressure the Austrians, confront the Austrian neutralities and the pro-Russian policy which led to such disastrous results. And please, it's time for NATO. Thanks a lot, and please sign the Austrian People's Petition for NATO membership. Bye.